Hi my lovelies, welcome back to my channel, and for everybody who is new, I'm Leorah and I'm so glad you found me. So welcome to this video, which is very special and very dear to my heart, and I have a feeling that this is gonna be a long one. Now, I'm not famous for short videos. But anyway, this is going to be, I think, a long one because we are going to talk about something that I experienced myself, and it has to do with this. This is also my first impression with LEORAH Cosmetics, but that is also a palette that is very connected to my past because this is the Berlin 89 palette. Now, what happened in 1989 in Berlin? The wall came down, the wall separating East and West Berlin, and after that also, of course, the border between East and West Germany. And sweeties, I was there and I'm going to talk about this while I'm doing this look. Now, I received this through the kindness of one of my besties, and I have to say a big thumbs up to FedEx. They got this to me in record time, that I can actually have a new release at a reasonable amount of time, which is just mind-blowing for me because I'm also not known for always having the latest thing first. Let's put it that way. I'm also not really about that race, but it's kind of nice for change to be there, you know. So this is how the palette looks, and of course we are going to try it out. We are going to talk about it also towards the end of the video, and I'm also going to show you the swatches, and I also have two more looks that I've previously done already with this palette in pictures. Sweetie, if you've just found me, I'm Leorah. I'm a makeup artist and stylist. I'm living for colorful makeup, colorful styling, and mostly of course from indie brands. Now, Lethal is based in Germany and I was born and raised in Germany, so this is kind of really cool for me. This is like coming home in a way. So yeah, so I'm super excited to feature this brand for the very first time on my channel and on my face. And if you're all up for colorful looks, for good YouTube content, for all of that, then please check out my channel and of course subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you here. Also, all my social media is linked in the description box, so feel free to see what else I can do. Okay, so that is that. And with all of that being said, let's jump right into the video because I'm very eager to chat with you about this. Hello sweeties. Good morning. Okay, so we're doing a look with this one, the Berlin 89 palette, and as you probably know from the intro, I am very much emotionally connected to this, and as a matter of fact, I want to talk also about that topic, the moment basically when the wall came down, when East and West Germany reunited, you know, stuff like that, because I was there, and that's why it is very emotional for me. And as I've already told you, if you've watched me when this came out or when this was sneak peek, this palette, and I spoke about this in my new makeup releases, I spoke about it that was basically the first time I saw my father cry. Because let's start working, because seriously I'm already delaying everything here. Okay, let's see. I'm doing my third look today. I want to use maybe the purple. Maybe this one, okay, because I have not used that yet, so let's just do that. And I'm just going to place it in a bit of a wing, I think, but you of course know how it turned out, so what am I talking about? Anyway, I'm using the Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer today, and let's see what happens. Alright, sweeties, so I have spoken already about this in a previous video, or a little bit at least, that it was the first time I saw my father cry, because actually my father and his whole family were from the western part, which was basically the part that after the Second World War was taken over by Americans, right? By the American allies, I guess. And the eastern part was taken over by the Russians. So my mom, she was from the eastern part, but they had fallen in love. You know, so my mom tried to come to the western part, but she could not manage with my father's stepmother because she was evil. Yeah, so anyway, this sounds like a fairy tale. Okay, let's bring in the dragons and all of that. where is the white knight? No, the white knight, the knight on the white horse. Anyway, that was probably something like my father. Anyway, no, seriously, because it didn't work out with the family, my mom wanted to go back. she wanted to go back. She said, I cannot live here, sorry, you know. And it was already becoming clear that the western part of Germany would have better living conditions and all of these things, but she couldn't do it. So I never understood this. You know, when they told me these stories, I was like, why can't you just, you know, can you? But they were so poor, they would have had to live with the family, at least for the time being. And so, because I said, just live somewhere else, you know, you could have lived in the western part, but just somewhere else, not with the family. But they couldn't have, because they were that poor, okay? So they basically just had what they had on their bodies, you know, and like a tiny little suitcase with one change of clothing, something like that, you know? So anyway, my father then said, okay, so let's go to the eastern part. Back then, one could still go back and forth. But the signs were, the writing was on the wall that basically the eastern part would be blocked off, and they would build a wall, and they would close the what's it called? The border. The border. Okay, yeah, and that was that. So this is how it stayed for 40 years. And my father was allowed to visit his family a couple of times, but it was very, very hard, and it was always an enormous amount of pressure, because the government, of course, made sure that he's gonna come back, you know? And yeah. Plus, my family, out of religious reasons, was basically shunned by the government, the East German government, because we were basically enemies of the state. Okay, I don't know if it is that dramatic. I just don't know how to say it in any other way. We were not part of the system, you know. We were not part of all of these organizations. All the youths had to be in. We were not allowed to study. We were not allowed to learn or to become certain things, like certain jobs, certain, how does one say that? To have certain educations, okay? We were not allowed to do that. And yeah, so especially for my older siblings, because I have 4 older siblings, it was very, very hard for them, because they were already old enough that it affected them, you know, in their choices. None of them were allowed to go to university, you know. One cannot even imagine this today. But anyway, I was too young. When the wall came down, I was 10 years old. I was old enough to remember, but I was not old enough to really seriously have suffered, even though I suffered on my childlike level, I have to say, because, for example, let me give you a tiny example. I loved my teacher, and I was very, very good in school. I was one of the best students in the class, and best students always got certain honors. But because I was not part of the system, I was the only one who was always standing in the last line, in the last row, not last line, in the last row for the pictures that were being taken for school, or I was never allowed to like do anything that had any honor in it, even though I was one of the best students, you know. And stuff like this hurt me, and I wanted so badly to be part of the system. They also had these a certain dress code that they wore with like kerchiefs around their like on white blouses, and I didn't have that, you know. And I always felt like the odd one out, and I hated it. You know, of course, I was too young to understand the mindset and the, I don't know, do I dare say, call it propaganda that is behind all of this? But I was just 10 years old, you know. But I remember a conversation that we had around the dinner table one day, and that was obviously close to the wall coming down, because I was old enough to remember it, that I said that I wish I could just be part of it all, you know. And I remember the despair in my father's answer, because he was like, no, now they've taken her, basically, mentally, you know. Anyway, thank God the wall came down before all of that happened. So let me tell you about the day when it happened, okay, while I'm continuing, hopefully, with the look. I think I'm gonna pull in the black a little bit. Should I? I think I will. This is called East and West. This is the black, and what we just used is Checkpoint. All right. So anyway, I'm going to use a pencil brush in order to do this, and I just want to deepen up this area before I place the cut crease. All right, sweeties. I was 10 years old, and on the day it happened, when basically the borders opened, I had an excursion from school. I was in 4th grade, and I remember coming home from that excursion. It was somewhere in a forest. We visited a little, I don't know, is it called forester? Like a guy who is taking care of the forest and like sees that everything is okay, that that there are no sicknesses in the trees, and that the animals are okay and stuff like that. So we visited that, like a little forest station. I don't know how to call it. And then we came home. And when I came home, I was still basically in the hall before even coming in the staircase, you know, before even coming into our apartment. And I don't know who it was. Was it my brother? I think my brother came and told me the borders are open. And if you grow up in a place that is always closed and you are never allowed to go anywhere, this sounds so illogical and so not, like, unconceivable. You cannot believe it, you know? So I got really, really angry at him, and I said, you don't make jokes about stuff like this, you know? And I screamed at him in the hallway there, in the staircase. So anyway, and then my mom came and she confirmed what he had said. And I broke down crying. I had no idea why. But I felt that this was something huge. This was something bigger than all of us, you know? And so I sat there and cried. And then my parents, they said, we got to get in the car. We got to get in the car. So we went into our little Trabant, which is the typical car that people in the East drove. And we got on the road. And I the other thing that I remember is that it was November. It was November, and I wore the only skirt that I had from the West. You know, we had bought this in a special shop which was called Intershop, where you could buy stuff from the West, good stuff, good quality stuff, but you had to pay for it with like West money, because in the East the money was worth nothing, really. So anyway, we did have a little bit. So for a birthday or something, I was allowed to buy one thing, you know, and I wanted to have a jeans skirt. So I wore that jeans skirt because I was very worried that I would look like a person from the East. You know, so in the middle of November, I was wearing a short jeans skirt, like till the knee. Anyway, doesn't matter really, but we lived pretty close to the border, within, I don't know, 20 kilometers or something, or 30 kilometers from the border to Bavaria, which is basically where my father's relatives lived, you know, because they are all Bavarians. So we got on the road, and of course then we hit traffic, because basically half of the country was on the way. And we spent either 8 or 9 hours in a traffic jam that basically inched, we were inching our way closer to the border control, to the border crossing. And at some point we made it through. I know that I didn't go to the bathroom for all that time, because I didn't. And I got a very bad bladder infection after this, also from being cold, and you know, it was something else. But after we crossed the border, there was like a truck stop kind of a thing, okay? And the Red Cross had put up tents there. They were handing out bananas. so cool. They were handing out bananas and tea and stuff like that. I went to the bathroom in the truck stop, and there was a door that automatically opened and closed with like a motion detector or something, you know. I had never seen anything like this in my life. I for 15 minutes or so, just went in and out and in and out, because I was so fascinated. I felt like that, wow, this is what the world looks like seriously, you know. Anyhow, after that weekend was passed, I think on Sunday we came back, because of course on Monday we had school, and we got in trouble because in the eastern part of Germany we had also school on Saturdays. So we got into trouble because I skipped one day of school. Yeah, but anyway, I think probably half of the country skipped that school day, I have to say. Yeah. So that was my first day, and this is when I met all my relatives for the first time, you know. And I remember going to a shopping mall in the West, seeing all of these things that were available there. I just could not even believe that such abundance is even possible, you know. I don't know. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. And yeah, so, and then meeting all these relatives, all my siblings, no, all my father's siblings, you know, it was beyond. Yeah. Of course, it also showed the rift that had happened in all of those years of separation between my father and his siblings. And it never really repaired itself, you know. It was just too late for that, I guess. But anyway, it was incredible. And for me personally, this whole thing came just right in time, because I was still young enough to be just in 4th grade, you know, so I could still learn English and French and all of these things, because all my older siblings were already too old. For them, basically, the chance had passed. They had to learn Russian, you know, like, you know, nothing against Russian, but back then it was forced on them and they hated it, and nobody wanted, or almost nobody wanted to learn it. Plus, for people like us, who would never amount to anything in that country anyway, because we were enemies of the state, you know, what does it help us to learn Russian? Like, really, you know? So anyway, we also found out, of course, afterwards, that we had been spied upon and all of these things, or spied on, I guess. And all of these things, and it was heartbreaking, because it's always the friends, or the ones that you consider friends. So yeah, but for me, the whole experience was just this amazing miracle, you know. For me, it was much less painful, like it was, for example, for my dad or for my mom. For them, it was a break, a really, really existential break. For me, it was just a miracle. For them too, but they also had all these other emotions that adults have. But for me, it was just a miracle. And then, of course, to see people dancing on the wall in Berlin, to like bring it back to Berlin, you know. And once they started to chop down the wall and all of these things, I could not believe my eyes, you know. And yeah, and I think also that it is so important with these separations and walls, you know. I don't know, I have my thoughts about stuff like this, but mostly the ones that are in our hearts. I think these are the most dangerous ones, you know, that separate us from our neighbor, that separate us from our children, from our colleagues at work. And because it always starts with the little things, it's not always just like on government levels and stuff like this. How healthy and how good it is to break down the walls and let the things that belong together be together. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean that certain scars will ever heal. Because I do believe that also now in Germany there is this separation that has just been forced onto this nation. And you know, the way most people, or some people, still talk about each other. People from the West are like that, people from the East are like that. And it's, for me, it's painful. But I look at it from the outside. I have left Germany many years ago. What, 20 years ago? Something like that. So, but when I look at my country, now it's not my country really anymore, but it is where I come from, where I was born, where I was raised. And I still have a big concern for that country, for Germany, you know. when I look at it from the outside, from far away, it really, really pains me to see certain developments there. And because I care deeply for that country, you know, and for me, it is so soothing to hear German. And sometimes I just put on like German news or German something so I can hear German, because it kind of calms me down. Because, you know, it would be like my mom talking to me in German and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, that is my story for today, you know, and I have not done enough work here. So let's just put maybe the gold, because I just also want to show you how they subtly put the German flag into this here. You know, isn't that cute? So anyway, let us put the gold here at the inner part of the cut crease. Maybe I should, wait, let's just put some additional eyeshadow primer on here, because I've forgotten that. All right, so let's put that on. All right, sweeties, so let's put on this golden shade, which is Reunion. Reunion. You know what else was really, really spectacular to see, and I mean spectacular in a little bit of a sarcastic way, is how after the Wende, which is the German word for the reunion of Western and Eastern Germany, okay? After that took place, how suddenly things changed, how, and I'm not talking about the economical situation or what was available in the stores. I'm talking about how suddenly all these people who were so conform with the government and who were so, you know, grand, suddenly were like, yeah, but we never meant that. And we were like, yeah, right. But didn't you have a good life though? Anyway, that was really, really annoying, you know? There was even a word for this, which was called Wendehals. Because, which means that you turn your neck, depending on what is most useful for you, this is how you are, you know? And a lot of people were like this. Now, do I blame them? Did they just want to survive? Most of them probably, you know? They just wanted to make the best out of a bad situation. But it's kind of, I don't know, maybe you can understand how that must have felt when you yourself were basically deprived all the time, and then suddenly they tell you, yeah, but it wasn't that serious, you know. Nah, I'm not buying it. Okay, so this is that duochrome shade, which is Breakthrough. It's this one. Okay, so here right now when I look at it, it looks, I don't even know, what is this, like a muddy green with a hint of a red or something. I'm going to pile it on a little bit more and see what happens. Yeah, I think this definitely has to be built up, then it comes out a little bit more. I think I'm also going to afterwards put it on with my finger a little bit, and of course I have to get it closer to the crease line. But anyway, so this is something like that. This is how the look is going to be. Of course, I'm going to fine tune this. Of course, you're going to see the rest of the looks. Oh, here maybe you can see the shift now a little bit. Okay, so this shade definitely has to be built up, just so you know, okay? All right, so anyway, you will see the rest of the looks, you will see the swatches, and of course, we're going to meet here for my review, so stay tuned. Okay, sweeties, here we are, of course, with the finished look and the finished styling, which you know from the intro. And here we do have the palette. Now, this is the outer sleeve, and in this case, I really, really have to point this out, because very often we have the same outer sleeve as the palette looks. I don't know. But here you can see this. Can you see this? This is so cool. It's like cut out, you know, you see this? This is so, so cool. Really, really nicely done. And this is how it looks. So anyway, it says Berlin 89. And then of course here you saw this one already. The ingredients are on the outer sleeve, and on the palette I don't think they are. So anyway, so this is how the palette looks. As you know, we do have 12 shades here. We do have mostly mattes, then we do have 2 shimmers, which is a silver. It's not a pure silver though. There is something special about this shade. And first I thought that it might be like a duochrome, a silver with a purple hint, or there is some hint of something. I can't explain exactly what it is, but it is mostly a silver. Mostly, okay? This one, and then of course we do have the gold, and this one here is the duochrome shade. Now I'm going to just swatch this a tiny little bit and just show you closer to the camera, because I don't know if it really showed up on the swatch video, but I hope that it does now. I hope so. So anyway, this is how it looks. I think it is really, really cool, and I think it's a nice addition to the palette. As I already also said in the makeup application part, that I think it is so, so cool that they incorporated basically the colors of Germany here. And I was very, very tempted to do a look in basically black, red and gold, just to, like, I don't know, because that would be so cool, but I have been kind of warned against it, because it might be interpreted as being like a nationalist or something. I think personally it is very, very sad that this is how the world is, that you cannot wear your colors anymore proudly, because immediately you're being said that you're something that you are maybe most likely not even, you know. Plus I think it is very, very dangerous for a society to lose itself so much, you know, to lose your own identity so much. But that is a topic for a different video. But anyway, so I wanted to do black, red and gold, but I have been advised not to do that. So this is how it turned out. I am actually happy about the look, because in any case it is nice. Okay, so let's zoom you in and let's just see what you think. I just couldn't stop myself, and I just had to put this lippy on, also because of my nails, I think, because I just felt like being flashy a little bit. So yeah, this is how it turned out. I'm really, really happy with the outcome. And now let us also talk about how I finished the look, because actually that was super simple. I just put like a medium blue on my waterline, and then I just put this blue underneath, you know, and that is it. In the inner corner I do have the highlighter that I also wear here, which is the one from Glamlight, from the Michaela collection, and that is basically how I finished the look. Okay, sweeties, let's talk about the palette. Because it is my first impression of Lethal Cosmetics, it was very, very interesting for me. It's always kind of interesting / scary to try a new brand, and especially when it is a brand that already has a hype behind it, you know, because if I'm trying like a super small tiny indie brand that nobody has featured yet, or very few people have featured yet, then it's like, okay, I just like, I don't even care what other people say, you know. Now in this case I have heard so much about this, because I've seen it like from a lot of people who got palettes in PR and whatever, so I know a little bit about it, but of course not from trying it myself. And all of this is of course very, very personal, because a lot of things just when it comes to makeup boil down to your own preference, and also maybe to your skills, where you are at in your makeup journey. So with all of that being said, a long speech, it's nothing to do with anything, just saying. Okay, so anyway, formula wise, let's start with the mattes. I think the mattes are super, super beginner friendly. I think overall, honestly, the formula is super, super beginner friendly, because it is very, very easily blendable. I hope that you also saw it today. I think the blendability of the mattes is super, super nice. I personally, because I like my looks to be bold, or as bold as possible for the most part, I would suggest you go in with the darkest color first on a sticky primer, because of their blendability. There's also always the risk of over blending and then shearing stuff out too much. Okay, so that is something that I see might be happening, but then again, a lot of people like it also a little bit less dramatic maybe, so this is perfect for you guys, you know. The two shimmers that are in here are also of course the first shimmers that I tried from Lethal, and I think they are okay. They are standard good OG formula. They're not like super foiled or anything. I think you also see this here on my eyes and also on my arms on the swatches, you saw that they're shimmers, you know? They're not super spectacular, sparkly something. They're normal shimmers. And of course, then this shade, I think, as I already said, this is very, very nice. It's very smooth. It is buildable, and I think you have to build it up in order to get the most out of it. But, and that's what it is. So yeah. And then of course you have those 12 shades. You have cardboard packaging. You do have shade names that are of course very nice, incorporated into the topic. So that is so super, super cool. Like, I so enjoy this, you know? Zone. The zone. Yeah, that was the eastern part. So anyway, I just so relate to this, you know, it's very, very nice. So anyway, this is how the palette looks. You do have a nice size mirror, and then this is how it looks. Okay, so sweeties, so what I said about the formula, that is what I feel. I did not experience any staining, which was really good. There was no problem with separating or fading or creasing or anything. I tried it also on different primers. I think 2 of the looks I did with the Natasha Denona base because it just worked super, super well. I think the first look I did on the primer from Be Perfect Cosmetics, which also worked super well. Yeah, so you see. You see that this is how it looks. Again, in general, I think if you have my makeup style and you want to have your looks like really be bold, super bold, then go in with the darkest color first. If you're more into like softer looks, then of course you can also use them as a transition shade and then build them up a little bit. But again, I do not believe that the formula is that pigmented that it is super buildable on top of each other. I believe it is better the other way around, but that is again according to my makeup style. Okay, sweeties, buildability and pigmentation, I would put it sort of mid-range in the whole wide spectrum of like super extremely pigmented, which is super scary and also like for some people and also not the easiest to work with. Let's not forget that, you know, when we say super pigmented, it always implies something super, super good and something that we want, but not everybody can handle it. Okay, so we all just have to find what is the best for us for where we are at in our journey here, you know. So that is basically what I want to say. Color scheme wise, I honestly expected it to be a tiny little bit brighter. According to the pictures that I saw on the Lethal Cosmetics Instagram page, I felt that it would maybe be a little bit brighter, and here it is a little bit more dreamy kinda, you know, which is, it was a surprise at the beginning, but I have to say that I kind of understand it now. I think it is a super, super nice fall themed palette. Also, of course, a version of a traditional fall themed palette, but executed in a very, very nice way. And again, I feel like it is very, very cool to just pick up this topic. I don't know if anyone has ever done it. And beyond that, of course, because they are based in Berlin, it is so, so cool that they basically incorporated part of their own history and of my history, and that is so, so nice, and I love it, you know. So anyway, I'm so, so grateful that I got to try this brand and that I could show you what I did. And I hope you did enjoy the video, and also of course the story time. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Where have you been in '89? You know, what have you been doing? How did you see it, maybe from the outside, or have you been in Germany and do you remember it also? So maybe let's just have a conversation in the comments. Also, as always, please feel free to give me ideas what you want me to talk about in the comments, or send your ideas of course to me on Instagram by DM. Beyond that, of course, check out my description box because I have all my links to my social media, all my discount codes that I have with different brands, everything that I'm wearing on my face, and also the ways to support my channel. Everything is down in the description box. And of course, if you've made it till here and you're new, then please subscribe to my channel. This would be now the last chance for this video, but I can assure you there's going to be a new one super, super soon. And up until then, definitely go ahead and sparkle. Hugs and kisses. Bye.